A girl is in the office talking on the phone. She asks the person on the phone, "Yes, what did you just say?" The person on the phone says to the girl, "Let's get married!" She indignantly jumps up from her seat, knocking over the office chair she was sitting on, and yells into the phone, "Let's get married! Get married!" Wow, what a way to start the day. The man next door to the girl's cubicle asks her if she's okay, saying, "Deputy Mary, what's wrong? Are you all right?" Oh, except for the fact that she's just been asked to marry, she's fine. The man on the other end of the line asks her if she's okay because it's so noisy. The girl says that everything is fine and that he should wait for a minute, picking up an overturned chair from the floor. After cleaning up the mess she made, the girl leaves the office in a hurry. Wow, what a situation. Did she really run to her fiancé? Without hanging up, Mary opens the door and leaves the room. She interjects while doing so to her interlocutor. "So, what did you say? Marriage? What did you ask?" The interlocutor answered her, "Let's get married. How many more times do I have to say it?" To which the girl reacted as if it were some kind of joke, saying, "Huh, so you said you wanted to marry me." The girl frantically presses the elevator button, saying she's going up to the roof, but without noticing, she presses the button down instead of up. You can see that Mary is very nervous. She says that no matter how many times he repeats the words about proposing marriage, it still seems too shocking for her. She is very worried and says into the phone that she is very much embarrassed by this proposal, saying that this is not the right time to talk about it. Mary is very indignant, because a wedding ceremony is not something casual, it's serious, so this is clearly not the right time for such proposals. The man told her that they could meet and talk, to which the girl talks and gets quite nervous and tells him, "Yeah, I think that's a good idea." After which, she abruptly thinks back and replies, "What? No, that'll do." Sitting in the car, he asks the girl, "Will it work?" To which she replies that yes, because they can talk it over on the phone. After that, the man opens the car door for him. With a tap of his foot, he slowly exits the auto. The girl says, "So back to your offer, I decline." Getting out of the car, the man listens to the girl tell him that she doesn't want to get married. He tells the girl that if she doesn't want to get married, why did she make it clear the opposite yesterday? To which she is a little confused, not expecting such a question. Mary said to the guy, "Just because..." Then he stopped abruptly, waiting for her answer. His hands shaking, he interrupts her. "Just because?" The girl was startled by his direct question, goosebumps running all over her body. She doesn't want to answer him, evading him, thinking to herself that her friend had advised her to do all this. Then she realizes that she is not on the roof, but in the hall. The man answers her by saying, "Why? Well, let's forget about it. It's nothing to do with getting married. I thought it was just a blind date." He sees the girl as she stands across from him and nervously talks to him on the phone and doesn't see him around, trying to explain everything. Pensive, she asks him why the hell he wants to marry her, since she's pretty sure he didn't fall in love with her at first sight on their date last night. The girl also says she wasn't that courteous to him then on the date. Suddenly, a look of shock appears on her face, as if she had been hit by a wave of surprise. From her current position, she scrutinizes the appearance of a man dressed in a formal and stylish business suit. Her gaze lingers on his image, and the man is holding a cell phone. With each passing employee, the greetings begin. The words, "Welcome, Mr. President," fly from every mouth, as if creating a harmonious chorus of greetings in honor of this guy in a business suit. The man looks very serious, while he has a well-groomed appearance and a rather sturdy build. The girl looks toward the guy and is nervous. What if he goes in her direction? She quickly takes cover behind a potted plant, carefully concealing herself, and sits quietly, as if trying to dissolve into her surroundings. Cautiously peering through the green leaves, she tries to get a glimpse of the guy while remaining cautious. A man tells her that suddenly he fell in love with her on the first date. Afterwards, the girl blushed terribly at such words. Then the guy sharply turns his head in the direction of that plant, from which the girl is frightened and sits quieter than the grass, afraid that he noticed her. He gazes into the distance but sees only a potted plant standing motionless on the floor. A man walking beside him asks him, "Is something wrong? Time to come in." To which the guy replies that he's fine, looking flirtatiously in the direction of the plant. He must have realized she was sitting there. After a brief pause, he says to the girl on the phone, "So, Miss Mary, Meet me tonight at 7 o'clock. Same place as yesterday. The girl immediately rebuffed him. She said she didn't have time today. The guy interjected that if not on weekdays, what about weekends? The girl answered him at once. No, you must be very busy. And I don't want to get married. No, I can't. Then added that she likes girls and hates men. Apparently, she said that just to get him off her back. Mary repeated to him that she liked girls, then said she was hanging up and said goodbye to him by pressing the call reset button. The girl is depressed. She doesn't know what to do. She slaps her hand on the wall, telling herself that it was so ridiculous to tell him that she supposedly likes girls. She remembers how just yesterday she was chattering away at the sight of him. The thought embarrasses her. The guy is looking at his phone while being distracted by the phrase, "Mr. President, you're here." He doesn't seem to be in a very good mood. One of the employees respectfully greets the president of the company, and by now, all the staff surrounding the guy, standing around the long table before sitting down, showing respect and greeting the president. The man didn't want to waste time, so he decided to get straight to the point. He said, "Let's start right now. I have a lot of things to do. First of all, the Vietnamese factory in question, right?" At this time, the girl is sitting at her workplace, absorbed in her thoughts. In a neighboring cubicle, one of the employees asks the girl if she is okay. The girl doesn't answer. She just thinks about the conversation she had with the guy today. She feels bad about the way she ended the conversation today. It's like she feels guilty for doing that. She wondered how she would confront him when he saw her, thinking back to the day before. There was a congratulatory poster on the wall. Congratulations on Mr. Brown's inauguration. Everyone in the office was busy with their own business and problems. Someone wanted to sleep. Someone was late with reports. Someone actually slept at the workplace. At the same time, Mary was hard at work, staring intently into her computer monitor. Suddenly, on the table next to the girl, her cell phone vibrates. The girl picks up the phone and greets a certain guy named Leslie with joy on her face. He offers Mary to have lunch with him because he has something important to tell her. Without even hesitating, Mary agrees. Mary looks around to make sure no one is looking in her direction. After making sure everything is clean, the girl sneaks out of her workplace. The girl is almost out of the office. However, she is abruptly stopped by a man telling her, "Mary Edwards, where are you going? Everyone's been called here because of the inauguration, despite it being a legal weekend. Don't you understand the seriousness of it?" The guy said, clearly displeased with this careless behavior of the girl. It seems that this man is her boss. So she asks him to let her go because where she is going is very important and she must be there. Her boss replies that he won't let her go because the boss is coming soon. He added that everyone knows how strict the boss is at the US branch, so no one should slip up. The girl only lowered her gaze frustratedly. She immediately ran out of the office, shouting in her wake that she could reprimand him later, but for now she would have a quick lunch and come back. Looking at the elevator buttons, the girl dreamily thinks about today, about the day she had been waiting for. The girl literally shines with happiness and smiles. She recalls looking at an engagement ring in a jewelry store a week ago. Standing next to the man, she was clearly showing with her whole appearance that she liked this ring the most. The girl immediately turns on the guy as soon as he tells her that women are so fond of rings. After all, they are given when they've gotten a confession. To which the girl replies to him, recognition? Yes, that would be perfect. The guy says he gets it, saying it's probably better to make it a surprise, right? And now, standing in the elevator, the girl with joy on her face thinks over the words of the guy about the surprise. She said to herself mentally that perhaps her labors had not been in vain, for she had been unrequitedly seeking him for 7 years. As she exits the elevator, she tells herself that he's always been like this, making a girl like her wait. However, he finally realized everything. She sees him standing in front of her with his back turned, whereupon she calls out to him, "Leslie!" The guy immediately turns around and smiles at her, greeting her back. "Oh, Mary?" The girl asks him how long he's been waiting for her. Afterward, she hurries him along, saying, "Hurry up." She can't wait to hear him confess. Suddenly, a girl appears from behind the guy, smiling sweetly at Mary. Mary only wonders who it is. The guy says to her, "Meet my girlfriend. Her name is Rosa Crowds. We started dating last night." Then he introduces his friend to the girl, who only stands stammering and looking at the two of them. "And this is my friend, Mary Edwards." The girl looks very friendly and happily greets Mary, telling her, "Hi, I'm Rose. I've heard about you from Leslie." Mary immediately notices the ring on Rosa's finger. She realized now something about the ring that Leslie was looking at as well was not meant for her. Sitting already in the restaurant, they read the menu together. The guy spends all his time on his girlfriend. He asks his girlfriend what she wants. Rosa replies that she wants pasta and pizza. That's not too much, is it? Mary is annoyed by the whole thing. She feels like a third extra, watching them coo sweetly at each other. This is when the guy remembers Mary and asks her what she decided to order. The girl is confused, because all this time she was looking at them, not at the menu, and then she frantically searches with her eyes for the first dish on the menu. She mentally complains to herself that the guy should have asked her first, not Rosa. Then her manager calls her on the phone, which stresses the girl out a lot. Mary pretends to be fine, saying it's the manager calling, then picks up the phone, except that the manager was not very happy. So the conversation started with shouting. She was being told off so loudly on the phone that it was audible, if not to the entire restaurant, then at least to Leslie and Rosa sitting next to her, which scared them. All he did was yell at her, "Where are you? Everyone is exhausted but busy preparing for the inauguration, and you are somewhere eating lunch dreaming of dying?" The phone starts to ring with Matt's, but Mary manages to cover the speaker with her hand. She tells the guy and the girl that her company is very busy these days, which is why they keep working even on weekends. Their manager has always been so impressionable, though now she must just be having these days. The girl only frantically returns to the conversation on the phone, telling the manager she'll be right there. She then says goodbye to Leslie and Rosa, telling them she has to go. Back at the workplace, the manager began yelling at Mary immediately. She's busy with the work that her manager threw at her so she wouldn't be idle. Suddenly, she gets a message on her phone saying she has an unpaid loan from the bank. She then gets a call from her sister telling her that their lease is not overdue again. Mary lowered her head depressed. She doesn't know what to do. Sitting at her desk at 12 at night with bags under her eyes, the girl is both horrified and relieved to say that she's finished working. Alongside her sits her friend, who listens to how hard Mary's day has been. A friend counts on her fingers all the reasons to have a drink. The first reason is Leslie White, with whom Mary has been in love for 7 years, and he suddenly brings his girlfriend to lunch with her. Mary only suppressed, and as if resigned to everything, just listened to her friend. Then her friend curls a second finger, giving a second reason. Mary didn't have time to worry about heartbreak and was berated by her manager, after which she worked like a slave. After that, in a completely depressed and sad voice, Mary gives a third reason, which is that she can't quit her job because of debt. Also, Mary said there's bird flu in her chicken house. Then she adds that it must be karma. The friend only looked at her with a regretful look. The girl adds more reasons. The fourth reason is that the interest rate of the loan has increased. And finally, the fifth reason is that her weekend is over, so she will work without rest until the next weekend. Mary looks very sad and dejected. Finished with listing her reasons to drink, Mary says that is why she will drink the alcohol her friend bought her. Although the friend reacts with some confusion, and only the girl brought the shot glass to her lips as her friend grabbed her by the arm, shouting that she should stop. Mary does not understand what has happened and says that her problems can be solved only with the help of a rich friend. The girl said this with a sad look on her face. At the same time, the friend said that everything was not so bad, and she could offer her something better. The girl, not believing in any miracles anymore, asked with devastation in her voice, what did her friend mean? The friend, pointing her finger at Mary, said, You're going in my place." Oh, that sounds like some kind of scam. Then she added, "You're going on a blind date instead of me." Mary is at a loss to know what kind of date this is, and why she would even do it. Plus, what if her friend's father finds out? The friend explained to Mary that it had been a long time, and she had already said she didn't want to get married. However, he wouldn't give up. So she thought that nothing would happen if someone else went in her place. Mary's face showed utter incomprehension and surprise. She was just about to say something to her friend when she told her that after the heartbreak of today, it was good to meet someone new. Then she added that it was her life and her last day off, so it was good to try to finish a good day. What a bold statement. After that, the girl approached Mary and said that she would pay her well, for she was the last heiress of Shabol. So let her think about renting. Looking into Mary's eyes, she asks her, "So, you want to make a deal with me?" Mary knocks back a shot of alcohol, after which she thinks for a moment. She just thinks, She's being sly, trying to capitalize on her friend's grief. She then asked her friend firmly, "So how much are you going to pay?" There's a guy standing in front of the boss, his heart beating faster and a slight wave of anxiety in his eyes. His gaze is somewhat tense, as if he's preparing for an important moment or expecting something unexpected. John sits quietly, staring at the computer screen. He is deep in thought on campaign issues, and his expression betrays focus and determination. The guy, plucking up his courage, decides to bother the boss, who is deep and concentrated writing something in documents. He turns to him. Sir." The boss remains unfazed by external stimuli and continues to write and flip through papers. His calmness and focus inspires respect and speaks volumes about his ability to concentrate on his work. The subordinate, having finally gotten his act together, decides to make a diversionary move by announcing the arrival of the principal and his waiting outside the door. John remains calm and poised, answering only, "Okay." His response, though simple, conveys either indifference or that he doesn't hear what the subordinate is saying to him at all. His response, though simple, conveys either indifference or the fact that he doesn't hear what the subordinate is saying to him at all. Then the guy, very nervous, repeats that the director has arrived and has been waiting for him for 5 minutes. However, the boss remains calm and, still with the same indifference, says only, "Okay." Suddenly, a man with a mustache and a hat bursts into the office, letting out a loud exclamation, "You insolent boy!" His sudden appearance and emotional outburst create a tense atmosphere in the room. The man continues to shout, "You scoundrel! How long are you going to keep me waiting, huh?" while adding that he didn't contact him when he came to Korea. John remains calm and cool, answering the man, "Why would I do that? I didn't even know you were here now." With rage on his face, the man began yelling at his subordinate, charging him with allegedly not telling his boss that he was coming. However, the boss himself said simply, "I didn't listen to him." Soon, John turned to him with the question, "So what brings you here?" A man sits down in a chair, saying to the guy, "You upstart, don't you even offer your grandfather a seat?" The boss says that the grandfather is already sitting down himself, and he has a lot of things to do, so let him spill what he came for. Grandpa says he's sad because his own grandson is ignoring him. It's so cruel. John says, with a slight annoyance on his face, "Get a move on and tell me what you need. I have to get back to work." A man says to John, "You're going on a date." The guy says no immediately without thinking because he's busy. Grandpa said that the guy didn't know when the date was, so what made him think he'd be busy? John asked with interest, "So when is it?" Pointing his stick at the boy, the grandfather said, "Tonight at 7. To which the guy actually replied in his own manner, "That is in 2 hours. I'll be busy." The man took the remote control in his hands and replied that in that case he would sit here and watch the movie until he was free. With irritability in his voice and clenched fists, the boy asked his grandfather, "Where will it pass?" There were women's conversations coming from the women's restroom. A girl asked her friend, "Isn't that too much?" To which her friend replied, "What are you talking about, just a little more?" The friend told the girl that just dressing up isn't enough, because you also have to balance everything in her style. She gave Mary a push-up insert, which caused indignation on the girl's face, and she said, "Misty, will you stop it?" The girl grabs her friend's hands and starts arguing with her. "Hey, stop it! I'm a size 3, you know that!" Misty replies that it never hurts to get a little bigger. And suddenly her friend was enthusiastically engaged in Mary's transformation, bringing ideas and creativity to life. As if a huge stone had fallen from her soul, she breathed a sigh of relief and muttered contentedly, "Phew, that's it finally." And then, as in a fairy tale, with beautiful feet shod in exquisite red shoes, she appears in front of her friend, like a star on the catwalk. Mary, transfixed by her friend, came out and asked her, "Well, happy?" The girl looked amazing. Of course she looked good before, but it was obvious that her friend had spent a lot of time transforming her. Misty replied that there was one piece missing, then put a pink wig on her friend. And now it's perfect. No one will recognize her as Mary. The girl agrees, saying that even her parents wouldn't recognize her in this image. But Mary still hesitated a little, asking her friend, "Are you sure it's okay? We didn't overdo it?" Misty only replies to her that everything is perfect, she's perfect. Besides, she agreed to all of this yesterday, so she has no choice. Sitting in a cafe, the girls were discussing that very date. Mary was saying that all she had to do was go and turn him down, adding that she would have to play dumb. A friend says it's easy, she's already tried it. To which the girl just questions, "What? You've tried it?" Misty says she's good at it because after much practice, her skills have improved. She told how on dates she immediately proposed marriage, which the guys immediately refused. Mary only asked that the guys didn't say anything to her father. The friend replied that the guys seemed to realize that she was faking it, because she was against it. That's why they didn't say anything, because they're upstarts. They just said they didn't know how to communicate with her. So her father is looking for new guys, and there's no end to it. With sadness in her voice, her friend said, adding that that's why Mary will go there and ruin everything, because in any case the result is obvious, so let her relax. Mary asked her friend that if she didn't want it all so badly, why didn't she tell her father? The friend replied that she just didn't want to upset him. Misty added that suddenly she wouldn't go on a date and her father would block her credit cards. It didn't matter if she was earning her own money or not. Mary reacted as if she understood, though she had a look of utter bewilderment on her face. Anyway, the friend said she's still waiting for her love. Oh my God, how many guys has she blown off on a date already? Misty dreams of love at first sight. She says she wants a guy who will love her for herself, not for her monetary fortune. Even though she keeps dating, she constantly feels like she's being sold. It's so hard being the daughter of a powerful father. Mary, with bitterness in her speech, pounded on the table and told her friend that she was the same way after all. The friend interjects, "What? The same?" "Yeah, because I'm waiting for my prince too," she replied to her friend, pouring another shot of alcohol into her shot glass. However, with one correction, her hubby on the contrary should be rich, Mary said, and therefore proposed a toast. "To our love dreams," the girl said a toast, after which they both clinked their stacks. Back to the conversation about the date, the girl asks her friend for ideas on how best to act. Mary suggests playing dumb and showing up there like a ragamuffin, wearing dirty clothes. However, Misty says that then she won't be able to enjoy the evening because it's important, even considering that she has to fail at the date. That's when a friend abruptly gets an idea. She says, "What if it's like this?" Mary replies, "How?" A friend points to a poster showing an elegant girl with a shot glass in her hands, adding, "A true woman." Mary didn't quite understand and asked, "A true what?" Misty replies, "You know, heartbreaker, why don't we try that?" She adds that if Mary dresses nicely and applies makeup, won't she change for the better? Being completely confident in her plan, her friend only says to the girl, "Cool, huh? That's right, it fits," looking at Mary with a stack in her hands. And so back to the conversation in the women's restroom, when Mary has already been transformed by her friend's efforts. Misty pushes her lightly in the back and says, "Now go and ruin it. No, better make him run away. If you succeed, you get a bonus." Mary has just now decided to ask her friend who the guy she is supposed to meet is. She replies with a thoughtful expression that she doesn't know. He's the director of some firm she's forgotten the name of. She bewilderedly asks her friend at least the name and age of the guy. Misty just as nonchalantly replies that she doesn't know his name, age, or gender. The girl's face shows a real shock, and she says to her friend, "What? You didn't find out anything about the guy you were supposed to meet?" The friend is a little embarrassed, and she replies that she has only gone to this kind of meeting a couple times. Plus, she'd blurted out information about the guy. But don't let her worry, because the guy doesn't know anything about her. Misty pushes the girl in the back, prodding her date and saying, "Now it's time to go. Use all your cuteness and spice." Mary has a bad feeling about this, though. And so Mary had already arrived at the meeting. She sat down at a table and waited for the guy. She starts to worry because money is good. But what if some bald old man comes to the meeting? The girl at one point even considered stopping this whole circus, however. Debts changed her mind to continue. Here a certain man approaches her with the words, "Are you Miss Misty?" The girl prejudicially didn't really pay attention right away. But after she took a good look at him, her pupils straight up dilated at who she saw in front of her. She saw a tall, handsome guy in front of her and wondered to herself only one question. Is that him? 30 minutes ago. The car rushed forward and the roar of the engine echoed around, filling the surrounding space with its powerful sound. In the interior of the car sits John, immersed in his work, staring at the clipboard in front of him. The guy is nervous and can't concentrate on his work. He remembers his grandfather, but not in a very good way. Leaving his office, John said he would be back after the date. However, he did not promise anything. At the same time, the grandfather was sitting relaxed on the couch, watching a love drama on TV in his grandson's office. The grandfather tells the boy that he is an idiot, because even though he is not interested in this date, he must at least know who he is going on a date with. He gives the name of the girl his grandson is going out with, Misty Fulton, 27 years old. He added that she was the daughter of the current director of the Yoongjin Group. John asks his grandfather with mild annoyance, "So do I have to marry her or make a deal?" To which his grandfather replies to him that the most important thing for a guy right now is to marry someone. After all, marrying for love is clearly not John's thing, as his only love is his job. The guy looked at the man reproachfully and said that since he understood it all, he'd better help him concentrate on his work. Without taking a break from watching the love drama, the grandfather says that he helped the chairman when the corporation was still in its infancy. He says to the guy, "What can I do? Except step aside." The grandfather turned to the lad and shamed him, saying, "All a weakened grandfather can do for his grandson is to find him a suitable match. I've planned your year of life so you don't have to worry about that." John is sitting in the car, thinking to himself that he doesn't understand what's so important about marriage. He remembers that his grandfather was strict in the US, but after he came to Korea, he became even stricter. The guy is thinking about what he should do because he doesn't have enough time to work, and if he messes up on a date, he won't be able to benefit himself. In a low voice, he said he had to get married. The driver, not hearing, turned to his boss and asked him what he had just said. The guy repeated that he had to get married, and it didn't matter what kind of girl it was. His assistant was so impressed by John's words that he barely managed a turn, his reaction at the moment on edge. The subordinate can't believe his ears, so he asks his boss, "What did you say? Marriage? You?" Adding that John sounds like the kind of person who thinks marriage is a waste of time. The guy replies that if this continues, he will spend his whole life chasing a bride, so he has decided to put a stop to it, and it doesn't matter who the woman is. And so, sitting in the restaurant, Mary was clearly staring, scrutinizing the man. She mentally told herself that the guy was incredibly handsome. He had long eyelashes, a penetrating gaze, white glistening skin, neat hair. All this she was saying to herself while he was just drinking tea. The girl catches herself thinking, why not marry him right now? She quickly comes to her senses, however, because she thinks he's just charmed her. The girl catches herself thinking, why not marry him right away? But she quickly comes to her senses, for she thinks he has simply charmed her. She's sad about her past, where she was rejected by Leslie. So she doesn't care if she screws up or not. The main thing is to get a bonus from Misty. With that being said, Mary decides to play dumb after all, telling the guy a little nervously, "You're late. You can't do that if you're dating a girl like me." She says that she is a businesswoman and that she is single, but there is no shortage of guys, as she has just talked to a few and is very tired. On the face of the guy, as you can see, absolutely no emotion that the girl is outraged. It seems to her as if he is just a mannequin, soulless, therefore decides to continue this play. She moved a little closer to him and shyly says, "I'm telling you all this because it would be stupid to hide it. Maybe you don't like fun girls, or maybe I'm boring. Maybe you want to do something else." But the guy's face still showed no emotion, and he still put the cup of tea to his lips and sipped the hot beverage. It felt as if he wasn't listening to her at all, immersed in his own thoughts. Mary decides to act more boldly, saying that if he didn't understand what she meant, she was talking about foreplay, because she was bored with being here. She looks at the guy and says things that would seem to make her blush herself. However, the girl tells the guy, supposedly she already did it at the hotel before the date and she liked it. The girl tells the guy that if he can't do it alone, he can call his friends or even a girl. She will satisfy everyone. The guy looked at the girl, without any emotion, as if she was telling it to an empty place. Mary was even a little disappointed, because who was she telling all this to? Isn't that enough for him too? The girl thinks and says even more boldly, "Or do you like to be just the two of us and org?" before she can finish the last word, which is very indecent. "I'm John Brown," says the guy. The girl interrogated the guy, to which he replied that she hardly knew him because she addressed him as you. She only replied confusedly, "Oh, right, John Brown," running her eyes. She was indignant at such a dry answer from the boy, for that was all he was thinking about. But suddenly the girl is wary because the name seemed very familiar to her, but she cannot remember where she heard it. Starting from afar, she casually asks the guy where he works, to which he replies to her, "Benson Enterprises Corporation." The girl replies that she knows this corporation because, what's wrong with her? Because it's her company. The girl realizes with fear the complexity of the situation in which she finds herself. No face on the girl. She sat there thinking, where had she heard that name? Was he one of the new guys? I don't think so, because he's much taller. Suddenly she remembers a congratulatory poster hanging in the offices with the exact same name. Mary leaps up from her seat with fear and literally screaming asks, "The president?" The guy with a bewildered look on his face replies to the girl that yes, he is the president of the corporation. The girl falls back onto the couch in horror, realizing who is in front of her. She brings up all sorts of rumors about the guy, that he's a celebrity in the US. A man with object-compulsive disorder who makes everything he talks about come true. Most importantly, the guy hates liars, firing staff because of deceptions. Mary sits there shaking. She's already mentally buried her job. She doesn't know what she's doing anymore, her company, her money, her parents' chicken house. The guy notices the sudden change in the girl after his words, and looking into her eyes asks if she's okay. The girl shakily takes the cup of tea and brings it to her mouth, pretending that she is not at all embarrassed by the guy's position. At the same time, Mary mentally tries to calm herself down, telling herself that her position is small, so the chance that she will cross him personally is negligible. Besides, she's a real woman now, and the guy won't recognize her. With a light clatter, she sets the cup on a saucer. She seems to have a plan. Mary replies to the guy, "No, it's nothing like that. Now you look more attractive in my eyes." With all that said, the girl continues to say lewd things to the guy. "Okay, it doesn't matter how many men there are anymore, let's do it just the two of us." She questions him about poses and other indecent things. The girl decides she's going to play crazy and run away as soon as possible. She gets on the table in front of the guy and tells him that she has been socializing with other men, asking if he likes it. The guy replies that if she's about having fun with other men, not at all. Mary mentally chases the guy away, hoping he's about to run away from the date. Sitting on the edge of the table, Mary says to the guy, "Really? Not only did I talk to them, but I slept with them, to dispel the boredom." She emphasizes that supposedly her mind is empty, all she thinks about is intimacy. And even now, the girl gets as close to the guy as she can, and talks about how she wants to do stuff to him. Considering that she had won, the girl distanced herself slightly and said that if he agreed, all he had to do was say the word, and she would do everything. But the guy, as usual, did not react in any way, which upsets the girl because she thought her plan would work. John turns to her, saying, "Can you give me your phone for a minute?" The girl indignantly tells him, "Why should I?" A guy insistently, looking the girl in the eyes, asked for her phone number. The girl timidly gives him her phone, but she has a very bad feeling because he is the president. John quickly pulls out his phone as well, then performs a few simple manipulations. Then he told the girl that she had a different number, because when he called Misty Fulton, he was told that he had the wrong number. To which the girl replied, "Well, Mist." Then she realized what he had done. She asks him perplexed, "Did you take my number?" John replies that yes, he took the number and would like to talk more. However, he has business to attend to, so he will call her back later. As he left, the guy apologized that he couldn't take her home, and if she would wait here, his assistant would drive her. The girl saw the guy leaving her with a glance and mentally said to herself, Did it work?" She couldn't stop looking at him and told herself that she'd made it. He'd escaped, hadn't he? Mary sat in her office, a look of despair on her face as she thought back to her date with John. She had hoped that the guy had just run off with her number, but he actually called her. Also, the girl recalls a guy telling her, "I said let's get married." The man was saying to her, "What if I fell in love with you at first sight?" The girl has goosebumps when she remembers his words. She cannot find a place, constantly fidgeting on the chair. She's surprised that the guy said such a thing, because yesterday she behaved so horribly with him, saying all sorts of obscene things to him. The girl is very depressed. She doesn't even know what to do. It looks like she's getting depressed. Mary had her head down on the table and was just thinking about the past. It was normal that he ran away from the date, but judging by the proposal, the girl had no idea that the president liked such girls. Abruptly rising, the girl thought with horror, she says the guy was well-groomed and quite serious, but suddenly what if he's a pervert? The girl with shock on her face imagined this picture. She herself is surprised at such thoughts, for to think the president is a pervert. While the girl was mentally trying to solve her personal problems, the employees were indignant. The manager was very angry with her because it was the president's first day on the job. Everyone was busy and Mary was slacking off. One of the employees said he'd go and talk some sense into her, but the employee is told to just tell the girl to bring the documents to the advertising department on the first floor. And so being on the first floor in the advertising department, the first thing the girl looks around, hoping that she will not meet the president here. She doesn't need that today. Besides, she never saw the past president until he retired. With hopelessness in her voice, leaning against the wall of the elevator, the girl tells herself that all she has to do is avoid him, for there is no other way. She will have to run, at least until she pays off her debts. She was distracted by a voice. "What are you doing?" he asked her. The girl looked fearfully in his direction. With terror in her eyes and shock on her face, she utters out loud, "The president?" She doesn't understand how it happens that when she avoids him, she meets him more often in person or by sight. The guy asked her, "Are you coming in or what?" The girl, trying to avoid eye contact with the guy, answers timidly, I'm going in." Luckily for her, the guy didn't seem to pay much attention to the girl. Apparently, he didn't really remember her face on the date either. Mary herself didn't understand why she entered the elevator since she was on the floor she needed. Looking at the guy standing with his back to her, she worries that he might fire her for not greeting the president properly. But that's not the only thing that scares her, because he might recognize her face. And then there's trouble. It's all horrible. However, she doesn't deny the fact that the man looks very cool, and she's flattered that he offered her such a thing. She thought that if he wasn't a psychopath and a pervert, then heaven wasn't fair. The girl thought about it and kept her gaze on the boy. John took notice and turning around to her asked the girl, "Do you have something to say to me?" The girl hugs her folder with fear and with horror to herself supposes, has he really uncovered it? The guy points his finger at the floor button and says that on the 12th floor only his office is on the 12th floor, and judging by the fact that the girl doesn't come out, that's where she's headed. The girl is horrified to see that she is indeed going with him directly to the president's floor. Anyway, the guy doesn't pay attention to the girl's appearance in any way. He points to his watch and simply tells her, "Talk now if you need anything. I'm too busy." The girl bashfully replied that she was just thinking and forgot to press the button. Reassuring herself, the girl says that she is sure that the guy did not recognize her, because yesterday she wore a lot of makeup. She stops abruptly, from which the guy who was following her and was stuck in his phone crashed into the girl. But she did not even notice it. The girl only calmly realized that the problem was solved, because he did not recognize her, and she refused him. The girl says to herself with relief that now she is free. The mission is accomplished and soon she will be paid by Misty, after which she will be able to return to her former life. Then the girl's phone rings again. She looks at the number and her happiness is interrupted, generating a new wave of resentment. The guy looks at the phone and sees that for the 4th time, the girl has already reset, hearing only the operator's voice that the subscriber is busy or temporarily unavailable. This behavior of the boss, it definitely scares his assistant. He's never seen him like this before, that's for sure. The aide asked the president, "Is something wrong?" Taking a seat at his desk, the guy dryly replied, "No." The president's assistant is surprised by his boss because he's been in meetings all morning and now he's doing paperwork. He's a monster. Disturbing the boss, the assistant asks him, "But sir, what are you going to do about Misty Fulton? Will you marry her?" The guy leafed through the papers and emotionlessly replied, "Didn't I already tell you? I will definitely marry someone soon." Looking at the president, the guy's only thought was that the boss has OCD, and that makes him embody whatever he thinks of, no matter what it takes. He asks John, Miss Misty Fulton seems like the kind of girl who likes to play around a bit. Is that acceptable to you?" Then the boss, distracted, asks, "You want to play a little?" His eyes are puzzled. He probably doesn't quite understand what his assistant means. The assistant clarifies, meaning, well, I'm not trying to insult your wife, but her looks and clothes. This is when John responds sharply, telling him that the guy is wrong. The assistant is nervous, drops of sweat beading on his face. He interjects to his boss, "Excuse me?" Recalling the image of the girl, John replies, "She plays always and everywhere." The guy replies to the boss that why was he the only one who was so intimidating then? The boss hesitantly says that if she enjoys partying that much, she will never find a husband like him. However, he is not going to say anything to her while they are married. But then, why did she turn him down? The guy, upon reflection, says that he apparently doesn't have enough information about her. How can he explain to her if she doesn't answer his calls? With a look of utter bewilderment on his face, the assistant asks John, is he really still ready to marry her? He needs to think about it after all. She will be his only... Before the assistant can finish speaking, the boss interrupts him and says, "Manager Day, call Misty Fulton's father. We need to arrange a wedding date." John has a serious look in his eyes. You can see he is very determined. And so, having finished her workday, the girl does not stop hiding from her boss, looking around to see if he is going somewhere. As she exits the building, the relief on her face abruptly changes to alarm. She sees that the president's car is parked right outside the entrance, and that's where John is heading now. She reminds herself that this is the third time today. Luck is clearly not on her side. Then the girl's phone rings. It's her friend. She picks up the phone and asks, "Yes, Misty?" The friend yells into the phone and says, "Hey, Mary, what happened to you?" Misty was still screaming and indignant on the phone. "I just got a call from my dad. They both want to meet me. I thought the guy ran off last night. What did you do on your date?" A car engine can be heard roaring in the distance, and then the president drives off. Mary hesitates. She doesn't know what to say to her friend, only saying, "Well..." Then Misty told her to come to the diner immediately, because a solution had to be found. And already sitting in the diner, her friend is visibly outraged. She sets the stack on the table with a clatter and yells, "Whoa, what did you do again? Eh? What can you perform normally?" Mary shyly replies to her friend, "Intimacy. I said I'm very good at it and I do it for pleasure. 3 men would be fine and a whip would be nice." The friend almost fell off her chair at Mary's statement. The girl yells back at her friend, saying she did everything as planned. However, the friend is outraged that there is a line that can't be crossed, so what is she going to do with her image now? Misty says she's depressed because she's never done anything like this in her years, and suddenly she's a queen of carnal pleasure. She's supposedly going to marry a man she doesn't know, but the man already has an idea of her. Mary apologizes and says she may have gone a little overboard. Mary comfortingly pats her friend on the back, saying, "Misty, you're not quite doomed yet. That man is very handsome and his body is a dream." This calms her down a bit, after which she adds more that the guy is much better looking than Adol's or models. Even though he's a pervert, sitting down at the table again, the friends began to discuss the details of the conversation. Misty asked her friend that such a man had proposed to her, while she had told him such nonsense. He's obviously crazy. Mary also says that the guy said he fell in love with her at first sight. The girls synchronously said to each other, "Okay, first of all." After which both interrupted each other, for Misty said, "Meet him," while Mary said, "Give me my money." There was an immediate disagreement between the girls. Mary yells to her friend, "What? You're telling me to meet you in the current situation?" Misty, on the other hand, yells at her friend, "What? Are you telling me to pay you in the current situation?" They're yelling at each other again. Mary says she can't bear the humiliation and shame. She doesn't want to go through it anymore. Misty wants to contradict her, but Mary covers her friend's mouth with her hand and says she won't meet him even under pain of death, for he is, after all, he's a director of her company. The friend was genuinely surprised. She asked if it was the director who was from the USA. Mary confirms her words, saying that if her friend had told her more about the guy, if she had known in advance who he was, she would never have gone to the meeting. And crying, Mary says that what's especially scary is that this guy hates lying people, so if he finds out about everything, she's in trouble. Misty holds out the envelope with the money to her friend, telling her that she was trying. The girl takes the envelope and says that Misty is the only one who understands her, except not willing to let go of the envelope on either side just yet. The friend doesn't let go of the envelope and says to Mary, "Last time, there won't be a third time." The girl, without letting go of the envelope, only asks, perplexed, "What?" Misty says, "My father is celebrating my engagement right now. Do you realize what would happen if I turned that man down? It would be crazy," adding that she doesn't want to see her friend in a bad state of mind because of being sent to a man she doesn't love. So the friend asks Mary to get the guy to call off the engagement himself. The friend, manipulating the girl's position, tells her that if she doesn't agree, then okay, she'll just have to tell the whole truth to that guy, telling him that the girl he was dating was just an employee of his company. Which, of course, caused Mary to shriek, because what is this? She's selling out her friend to save her life. With no more leverage, Misty says that if the girl does everything, she'll pay her 4 times as much. Mary is already sitting in her usual character of a heartbreaker, waiting for her boyfriend. She looks out of the window and says to herself that money is money, but now she has a responsibility. She wonders how she can say no to him. She recalls telling her plan to Misty, "I can start talking while scratching my head, and then the dandruff will start getting in my mouth and—" Her friend was clearly unhappy with such a silly plan, responding, "Mary, do you want to die? She can have such a murderous aura, it's hard to cross her." Mary wondered, for not long ago she had been upset with Leslie. The girl recalls how she studied at the university and saw Leslie for the first time. Everyone in the class was talking about him, but Mary didn't understand who they were talking about. The guy was very popular with the girls because Leslie was not only smart, but also damn attractive. She remembers the first time she met his gaze when she looked at him at recess. The teacher had told the students to group together for the lesson, but the girl was confused because she was new and didn't know anyone yet. Leslie came up to her then and asked, "You're Mary, right? There seem to be so many people here with similar goals, so do you want to group with me?" To this, the girl immediately responded in agreement. The guy immediately attracted her attention to himself because, in addition to being handsome, he had a lot of kindness in him, and he also had good leadership abilities. The girl immediately fell in love with him. She always kept close to him, becoming closer to each other. Naturally, this gave rise to gossip, but without it, alas. Mary thought she was special to him, that he wasn't just friends with her, however. Leslie chose the queen of their class over her. That's how her acquaintance with each of his new girls began, as he introduced her to them as his girlfriend. The guy changed girls like a glove, so often that neither he nor Mary can remember the exact number. With sadness in her soul, she recalls how during these 7 years, the girl in the guy's soul did not dote. How she responded to his every request. How she waited for him from the army, and even helped him with questions about work. The girl couldn't understand how she was worse than every girl he introduced her to. But if we talk about the difference from his girlfriend, the first difference is that she seems to be 5 or even 6 years younger than her. The second difference is that that girl is as cute as a little squirrel. And finally, the third difference is that she has snow-white skin. But the girl raised her own self-esteem, saying to herself, "This girl was asked to marry by the director of the company, okay? Leslie, our boss, is much more attractive, richer, and more talented than you, so he is peerless and a pervert who likes frisky girls." Yes, unfortunately, not everyone is perfect. And so the girl assumed that was exactly what his skeleton in the closet was. Mary turned away and started to pull out her pouch up, thinking that the guy might have fallen in love with big breasts. But as she was doing so, she was called out, "How long have you been waiting?" The girl managed to quickly hide the push-up, and a little nervously replied, Yes, I've been waiting for quite some time." To which the guy immediately apologized for being late. It was the first time she saw shame on his face, yet even in this situation she finds him very handsome. The guy looked questioningly at the girl and asked what she would order. Americano, latte, or... He moved toward her and said, "Let's get married." The girl did not immediately understand and replied, "Okay, marriage, then I'll order an Ameri—" The girl almost said too much, because the guy talks so naturally about getting married that she almost thought it was some kind of drink. She immediately said that she had misunderstood him and reprimanded him for saying that a wedding is not a joke. "You can't just talk about it like that." John answered her, "Do you think I'm kidding now?" And the problem is, he's not kidding. Mary tries to talk his teeth in, saying it's not like they're going back to the beginning. She says they'll talk about it after they order, asking the guy what he's going to drink. The guy said, espresso. He seems to be drinking it just for show, he's so stubborn. The girl says, okay, I'll go buy one. To which the guy wanted to contradict her. Mary rushed away for she had to think of something. The boy just stared at her in bewilderment. The girl at the cash register said she could go back to the table because everything was coming. But Mary said she would stay and wait here, asking for some ice. She stood and chewed on the ice, thinking about her plan, looking at the guy. She came up with a plan that was pretty simple. All she had to do was tell the guy first that they couldn't get married, that she wasn't ready, and that she wouldn't accept his proposal. The order is ready, said the barista. Mary then picks up the tray and turns sharply to carry it to the table. However, she didn't notice that there was a guy behind her and crashed into him. But John snatched the tray from the girl's hands and grabbed her by the waist so that she would not fall. There was excitement in his eyes, and surprise and fear in the girl's eyes. The girl thanked the guy for not letting her fall, but she asked him why he was here and not at the table. The guy apologized and said that he suddenly had urgent business to take care of, so he would be back soon. Mary asked what about the wedding. John replied, I'll get married as soon as I get back. She started to contradict him, but it was as if he didn't hear her and simply said he would be back in 20 minutes, after which he apologized and ran away. The girl said not loudly, rather to herself, if you're so busy, why don't you just leave me alone? Then the guy apparently heard it and stopped abruptly. He turned back to her and said, phone. The girl asked why he wanted her phone. The guy said that he would check if she had canceled the calls because it would be a problem if she ran away. Mary says she won't run away because she has something to say to him. She inadvertently calls him boss, but quickly corrects herself by calling him by his first name. As the girl correctly points out, telling herself mentally that even if she runs away, Misty will drag her back. Deciding to dominate a little, the girl says to the guy, but only for 20 minutes. I'm a busy woman, you know that, right? If you're not back in 20 minutes, I'll never see you again. Wow, is this her new plan? Looks like she'll be praying for the guy to stay longer than 20 minutes. The guy apparently not expecting such an answer from her at all, only surprised greatly, then said, okay. While dealing with problems at work, Assistant Day, in deep sadness, apologizes to his boss saying, I should have realized it sooner. I apologize, but fortunately they will get it to them from us. But the boss didn't reprimand, saying it's okay, because Secretary Day is a busy man, plus they had a really complicated strategy. The assistant, with absolute amazement on his face, asks John how he knew the paperwork was wrong. Did he really even work at the meeting with Misty Fulton? Anyway, it's been an hour, not 20 minutes, so John says that since he broke his promise, he'll have to give up on getting married. Day asks John if he's going home. The boss replies that he is, because he wants to make sure before he starts another round of blind dates. Do you think she'll be waiting for you? His assistant asks him. The guy replies, I'll know when I check, putting his jacket back on. The aide said then it would be fate. The boss turned sharply and asked, what? To which Day replied that if she was still waiting for him, then it was fate. Destiny, does Secretary Day really believe in such nonsense? John asked his assistant. The guy, however, replied, smiling from ear to ear, saying, if you don't believe it, why are you going? Mary had waited an hour for him, but she wasn't about to run away, for she had something to say to her boss, John Brown to be exact. As he leaves the office, John replies to his assistant, then it will be a 1 in a million chance. The assistant has never seen his boss from this side before, and he smilingly escorts him to the exit, telling himself that this is what they call fate. Mary finds herself in some dark room and looking around. Suddenly, she hears from behind her, Misty Fulton, after which the girl shudders. She turns around and sees her boss in front of her, who says, you're Misty Fulton, right? The girl who went out with me on the date. The girl, frightened, says he's mistaken. Her name is Mary Edwards. The guy frowned and asked if she worked in the Group 2 Plans and Finance Department. The girl runs away and yells back that she doesn't know anything. But suddenly, John was tearing after her, catching up to her. Still catching up with her, the guy pinned the girl against the wall and asked, are you Misty Fulton? The girl gives up and says she is. She's still hoping that at this point in their relationship, he won't kill her. The guy grabbed the girl and lifted her up in his arms with the words, then, let's get married. Moments later, the girl is already in her wedding dress. She, with shock on her face, asks the guy why is she in a dress and where are they even? John says, "What do you mean? We're where people get married. Now it's time to get out." And then he takes the girl's hand and opens the door with a long creak. Mary balks. She doesn't want to go, telling him that he is the president of the company and she is just his employee. The guy tells her that this is not true because he is her husband and she is his wife, whom he has chosen from a million others. The girl is genuinely confused by these words, and with a perplexed look on her face, asks the guy, what? Excuse me?" John only replies to her that yes, she is his wife. She continues to balk, telling him that she's not his wife and that she can't marry him because they're... Just then, a guy approaches her abruptly, telling her almost in a whisper that it's fate. The guy expected that the girl would start yelling at him for being late, and that therefore they would not be able to get married. However, when he came back, he saw that she had just fallen asleep. She was sleeping and talking in her sleep, whimpering like a puppy, which the guy noticed, by the way. He sat and just watched her sleep innocently. Suddenly, the girl begins to sway in place like a metronome. Her head slowly lowers and she falls down. However, the guy reacts quickly and puts his arm up to cushion her fall. The girl, falling down, gently lowers her head on his arm, creating a moment of some care. The guy looks at her carefully and pronounces to himself that she is indeed a woman full of surprises. This inner observation expresses his surprise and his realization of how she knows how to surprise. Suddenly, the girl opens her eyes abruptly and finds herself lying with her head on the guy's arm. She jumps up abruptly and screams, "No! It's not gonna happen!" Apparently, the girl had a nightmare about the wedding. Around the girl and her boyfriend, everyone started whispering. The girl completely forgot that she was still in the cafe and that she had fallen asleep. Much embarrassed, Mary sat down quietly in her seat, saying to the guy, "Did you come?" To which the boy only asked her how she had slept. The guy says she had a nightmare because she was asleep and twitching. To which the girl replies, "When did you come? Did you waited long?" The guy says quite a while. Mary, on the other hand, discreetly looks at her phone and notices that she's been asleep for an hour. Also, the girl actually had a nightmare about getting married. She asks the guy why he didn't wake her up. John replies that she looked very tired. He had waited so long for the girl. The girl says, "Thank you for your concern, but I can't marry you." Looking intently into the guy's eyes, looking at the guy listening intently and drinking his espresso, she says, "I feel bad about getting married like this. Our families have plans for us, but we don't even know each other. This is going to be the person you'll be with forever. How can we just get married like that?" Throwing a fleeting glance at the guy, she said, "He understands her, doesn't he? She's praying this plan works. She's clearly crazy. I wonder what the plan is now." The guy sets the cup on the table with a sound and, leaning toward her, says, "Okay." His response, full of calm, seems to emphasize his willingness to accept her words and move on. He says, "If that's the only problem, we just need to get to know each other better." The girl is confused by the closeness of their faces. She says he misunderstood her, but the guy was unstoppable. The guy asks her how many more times they should meet to get to know each other. 10 times. No, that's probably not enough, then 20. Mary says that's too much. So John says 10, no, 5, 3. 3 times saying that. The guy says they only have to meet one more time then. The girl stopped John, who was all but invading her personal space. She told him that the number of times they met wasn't the most important thing right now. Afterward, remembering her friend's words, Mary said she was just waiting for her soulmate because a blind date isn't even romantic, so she doesn't want one. She also reminded him that hadn't she told him what kind of woman she was? She likes men, and she likes women. The guy said he loves women too, to which the girl replied that he certainly loved them, but knowing this about her, he still wanted to marry her, and that ordinary guys. Before she could finish, she was interrupted by John, who said he was an unusual guy. He realizes that her past is her own business. These statements shock Mary. She definitely thinks of him as a psycho. She must not lose this battle for anything. The girl decided to go with the trump card. She told him, "I told you last time I slept with a man before our date. Are you sure about that?" The guy only gave her a reserved look and said he liked her sense of responsibility and honesty. Yeah, it looks like Mary lost, although she had one last chance. However, gathering her resolve, she pulled herself together and told the guy, "Okay, I'm going to be honest. John, you're not my type." John frowned and said, "You think I'm going to control you?" He added that she may not worry because he won't be monitoring her life because he will be busy with work. The guy said that he doesn't care about her seeing other men or women. He will even let her spend her money. Judging by Mary's reaction, he's the perfect husband. The girl says that even so, he's still not her type. Plus, he's harsh even in conversation. The guy said that because of habit, he sees her more as a work partner. It's because he rarely socializes with ladies, therefore, will try to improve. Mary keeps belittling the guy, hoping he'll reject her because of his bad character. She says that he doesn't even have taste in clothes. He doesn't know what suits are in fashion now. Her question made him think, and he replied that he was now wearing the most ordinary suit. Afterwards, he added that he might see what was in fashion the other day. The shape of your nails. Unable to find something to say, the girl's emphasis is already even on his fingernails. But the guy is rather the opposite, flattered by it, because as he said, it looks like she researched even such minute details. The girl says, "No, it's just, you're not good enough." To which the guy replied, "Misty, but I'm not that bad." Which left her puzzled and asking, "What?" John ambiguously told her, "If you're worried about yourself, don't worry. I'm good at it." Oh my God. What did he mean by that? The answer caused the girl only momentary embarrassment, which was vividly reflected on her face. This awkward situation briefly caused her expression to change. Standing by the car parked outside the girl's house, she addresses him, thanking him for giving her a ride. "Misty, you asked why I want to marry you, right?" the guy said, looking the girl straight in the eyes. The girl replied in surprise, "Eh? Well, yes." She didn't understand why he was talking about it all of a sudden. Under the light of the lanterns and the rustle of falling sakura petals, the guy answered her, "I liked you." This response causes Mary great embarrassment, and she inwardly asks herself, "What the hell?" Her emotional response reflects her surprise and bewilderment at the unexpected turn of events. Without having time to answer the guy, he abruptly got into the car and, speaking through the window, said that he would call her later. But the girl immediately yelled, "Stop!" She walked to the car and said, "I don't want to marry you, John, let alone date you. I've said everything I want to say, so I'm going to consider this conversation." The guy sharply contradicted her, saying, "Didn't you say you wanted a fated date?" Yes, that's why it's a blind date," the girl timidly replied, as she was immediately interrupted by the guy saying, "That's what happened tonight." Without giving the girl time to respond, the guy uttered, "I'll call you later," and then added, "Have a good trip." This abrupt final moment left Mary without words, as if emphasizing the unexpected turn and conclusion of this meeting. As if reacting to her inner thoughts, the driver presses the gas pedal sharply, and John's car quickly picks up speed, driving away. Mary remains standing outside her house, staring into the distance. Her face expresses a mixture of surprise and bewilderment at what is happening. Staring at the departing car, her eyes seem to linger for a moment, and then she says slowly to herself, as if emphasizing determination, she's not going to pick up the phone. Sitting in his office, John asks with horror in his eyes, "The Crofton Company?" Holding up the clipboard, the aide replies, "Yeah, it looks like she doesn't work for Chairman Fulton, but for a rival company, Crofton." Just like that, the guy asks why the boss suddenly wanted to go to work for Miss Misty. The boss replied that she wasn't returning his calls. Day said, "Why doesn't John just give up, since he doesn't think anything good will come of it?" To which the guy replied with an insult, "Who the hell are you to tell me it's not going to work out?" The assistant reminded the boss that she had already rejected him previously. This nonverbal cue was intended to reinstate the fact of the previous rejection and avoid unnecessary action. But then the boss remembers coming into the cafe and seeing her asleep. He said that she was waiting for him, which actually provoked a puzzled question from the assistant, who asked again. John says to the assistant, "Secretary Day, didn't you tell me that if she waits for me, it's definitely fate? So I'll have to wait." In a half tone, Day says he was kidding, right? "Wait for her to come to me herself," the boss added, looking at his assistant. though the assistant himself found those words creepy. As they left work, the girls said goodbye to each other. "Misty, be careful on the way home," to which she replied, "You too, April." You can see that the girl is overcome with fatigue after a day at work. But there is a spark of hope and comfort in her eyes, as she knows that her friend Mary has already taken care of the important matter. Suddenly, her name comes out of some guy's mouth. "Miss Misty Fulton." Her ears respond and she instantly turns around to meet the man's gaze. The very same assistant boss is standing in front of her, but what is he doing here? Day says, "Miss Misty Fulton, is that correct? I'm with Foster's company." The girl asks in surprise, "That's right, but who are you?" Looking at this guy, the girl can't take her eyes off him, saying to herself that it looks like God has heard her prayers. What was she praying for? The guy looks at the girl and can't recognize her as the same Misty his boss used to date. He wonders if she was wearing a wig and a lot of makeup then. So that's how she looks without all that unnecessary makeup. Misty looks at the guy and wonders why he doesn't answer her question, but just stares at her, and he has such a piercing look in his eyes. A spark of sympathy suddenly flashes between a guy and a girl. The girl internally recognizes that he is definitely attractive to her, and even tells herself that he is her type. Embarrassed, the girl asks why he was looking for her. The guy himself decides to introduce himself by his boss's name, saying, I beg your pardon. I'm John Brown, CEO of Benson Enterprises." Misty is totally shocked. She didn't expect to see the guy she was supposed to be on a date with. She remembers her friend, and now she doesn't understand what he's doing here, because Mary has made up her mind. The guy apologized and said he was sorry he hadn't warned the girl beforehand. But looking at the guy, Misty just kept repeating to herself mentally how cute he was. And that was completely different from her friend's description. When she said that the guy was a psychopath and a pervert, he said to her, "If you don't mind, could you give me a minute?" The girl remembers her friend's words and agrees when she said that the guy is very handsome. Now Misty regrets that she didn't go on the date herself. Also, because of her friend's dating behavior, Misty now looks like a lustful maniac in her boyfriend's eyes. The girl replied to the guy, "Why? I thought we were done talking." Mentally, the girl now and then berates herself for the way she's now responding to this handsome guy. Because even if it's her own fault, it's still, "God, why are you so unfair?" The guy says to her, "About last time?" Here the girl doesn't quite know what he's talking about after all. It's not like she was on a date last time, so she asks, "Last time?" "About marriage," he replies, smiling. "Oh yeah, marriage." The girl pretends she just didn't immediately know what he was talking about. The girl remembers how hysterical she was when she told her friend about how her image was ruined and that she had to marry a man whose face she had never even seen. She catches herself thinking that she has gone crazy because she now wishes she had gone instead of Mary. "I'll walk you to my car," the guy said kindly, smiling and pointing with his hand to a nearby car. The girl mentally agreed already, even if it would cause problems for Mary. As soon as they got into the car, the guy was vigilant and caring, first emphasizing the importance of safety. He politely addressed her, asking her to fasten her seatbelt to ensure maximum protection on the road. The girl, with a small smile on her lips, playfully pokes the latch playfully in the air as if in an attempt to catch an unseen object, while cheerfully noticing that her belt seems to have decided to suddenly take a little break from working. With a kind smile on his face, the guy offers to help, taking her belt and deftly sliding it into the latch, making sure it's securely fastened. His caring gesture shows his attention to her comfort and safety on the road. The moment brings their faces so close together that their breathing becomes palpable, and the distance between them shrinks to a minimum. This close contact makes Misty blush and avert her gaze in embarrassment, but it also affects the boy, causing him to feel the same emotions. They turned around abruptly and pretended that nothing had happened. The guy, blushing profusely, said, Now let's go," to which the girl quietly agreed. Suddenly, an unexpected and distinct sound begins to spread throughout the cabin. The rumbling of a guy's stomach, as if he's been waiting for his moment for a long time and has decided to insert himself into the conversation. Slightly embarrassed, but with a warm smile on her face, the girl broke the captivating silence and asked a question, showing interest. "Aha, are you hungry?" Her words sounded like a pleasant continuation of their conversation, creating an atmosphere of intimacy and trust. A few minutes later, they arrived at their desired destination, a cozy diner with an inviting aroma of food and a welcoming atmosphere. With chopsticks in hand, the girl enjoys diving into the world of delicious food inside the cozy diner, savoring every nuance of taste. With a smile on his face, the guy comments, "It looks like you're really enjoying your meal." His words are accompanied by a friendly note, regarded as a light joke. The girl is surprised, because does she look like she wouldn't eat that kind of food? He laughingly replies that he honestly didn't think she would eat it. Misty smilingly replies that she has ruined his impression of her. With a bit of embarrassment in his voice, he answers her, "Not a bit." This answer, spoken with a slight playfulness, reflects his good mood and his desire to continue an easy and friendly conversation. The girl looks dreamily at the guy and thinks, could such a perfect person even exist? She said to the guy, "Aha, then I need to finally destroy your fantasy of me." And then she yelled for a single scoop of ice cream. And then, as if by some unseen signal, they fell out in synchrony into a mingled, rapturous exclamation, "Assorted!" Their spontaneous unity in this playful setting added a note of fun and coherence to this vibrant moment. Laughing together, they look at each other with a warm and innocent smile. She says that she thought the guy would like ice cream too. The guy agrees and says innocently that the longer you eat ice cream, the more delicious it becomes. The girl tells the guy that he knows about it because she herself, instead of going to first-class restaurants, prefers to rest in such eateries on weekends. The guy starts to say that he remembers being a kid, but before he could say anything, he was distracted by a notification on his phone. After reading the notice, the guy wonders, meat? His bewilderment and the unexpected offer sound like something he certainly wasn't expecting right now.